Hello, this is Matthew Royer. I am from Las Vegas, Nevada. I teach second grade at a Title I school here in Las Vegas called Ruby Thomas Elementary School. It was first built in 1965 and still going strong. We have over 950 students, many of whom are of refugee status from all over the world. I also teach a after-school music program at that school. How do we educate our students to encourage a lifelong participation in music? Many high school students are excited participants in their music programs, but as soon as they graduate and lead their regular adult lives, they rarely pick up their musical instruments. Are we teaching the wrong skills in high school for them to enjoy a lifelong participation in music? For example, myself, I thoroughly enjoyed playing the euphonium in all sorts of high school ensembles, marching band, and so forth. If I hadn't chosen a career in music, I don't know how often I would be picking up and jamming on my euphonium as just a regular worker. Perhaps maybe we should also include classes on how to play what are becoming more popular personal instruments, things like the guitar, ukulele, the portable keyboard, that in addition to recording software that makes loops and samples and of the such. The review of literature touches on many different points that I'm talking about. First was Kratos in 2007. He compared the situation in music education to that of the popular book The Tipping Point at the time. He said that things were changing very quickly, and he questioned whether or not we could ever go back to the regular paradigm of band, chorus, orchestra as the only classes to be music classes to be offered in high school. Abril and Galt, they did a survey of principals, and they were actually surprised to find that there were more principals and administrators that wanted to see the addition of non-traditional music added to their curriculums. Further along with the review of literature, Chiodo and Douglas, they examined the phenomenon of the participation with community bands such as the New Horizon Band and other traditional style community bands. And they were looking at reasons that these adults went back to playing their instruments. The one study examined if it was psychological, and if it had met their psychological needs, that they went to that direction. Kelly and Veroni, in 2019, they did an interesting study. It was of existing music students that went to a big camp for band, orchestra, and choir students, and they surveyed them to see what types of non-traditional music classes would they be interested in. And it was a neat survey in that they discovered that most were interested in taking additional classes, but the additional classes that they were looking to take also corresponded with the first class that they were taking. So if they were a choir student, they would be more likely to take a show choir class, or if they were, let's say, an orchestra, then they would be likely to want to take an additional music theory class. So those non-traditional classes were somehow tied in with non-traditional because those students, I felt, were already going down the traditional music path. So potentially the sample was a little skewed in that survey. Jannings in 2018 did a dissertation that looked at the disconnect between the relatively high participation of high school music students in music programs and the big drop off in their lifelong participation in music. And he examined different reasons, and some of the reasons were economical. Some of the reasons had to do with time. But comfort level was also a big factor in that they belonged in high school because they wanted to belong to that scene, that group of friends. And so when they are suddenly outside of that circle, now they are forced to find a new set of friends if they want to continue to participate in the community type or ensembles. There is a need for this type of study. There are some out there, but what I've found is the samples are very specific. Maybe a lot of convenience samples, samples of students that already had belonged to a program, so it was easy for the teacher to reach out to them. What I'm suggesting is that if a survey that we do a survey and it be of a truly random sample, something done by a company such as SurveyMonkey, where we're able to get a better random sampling of the community at large. Again, the purpose of this study is, do non-traditional high school music classes prepare our students for a lifelong participation in music better than traditional high school music classes? It's been brought up many times before, and it fits in with the problem of that there's a very low lifelong participation in music. The parents may want to get their children involved in learning music, but as adults, they typically do not. The instrument is a questionnaire that I put together and imported into SurveyMonkey. That I created the questions, I entered the questions into SurveyMonkey, and then you select for SurveyMonkey to disseminate to a random sample of participants. The first question asks for what age range the participant is in, and that is just that background data is to see if there is a correlation as we move on down, through analyzing the data, because once you take the data, you can't go back and get it again. We also asked the question of gender, because again, there could possibly be a correlation here, and it would be impossible to go back and recreate that data. So we're asking it just in case that there is a correlation. The same way with the education level. We're not surveying anybody prior to high school graduation or completion, but we want to see if a high school graduate, or if they're a graduate student, or actually completed. We're also looking at income to see if there is a correlation. Maybe lower incomes don't have the time, as one of the studies had suggested that they don't have the time to put into playing music, where Potentially, if there's a higher household income, some of the members of the household would have more time to participate in music. We also look at what classes were taken by the participants, whether they were of just non-traditional, no music classes at all, or traditional music classes. And this is a select all as they apply. And we also then ask how many hours a month do the participants in the questionnaire, how many hours a month do they participate in creating or playing music. We hope to be able to take all of this information and find a correlation between non-traditional studies and a higher instance of more hours played per month by those people. We want to make that correlation between a lifelong participation in music and the availability of non-traditional music classes. I hope that the information gained from this study helps to guide which music classes we offer to our students, because in the end, we want the education that we give to our students to be relevant to them and their lives.